Hey everyone, just a heads up that this podcast will contain spoilers for Ready Player One.
We're just okay and we play some
Movies.
games. We're just okay.
Movie
gamers.
watchers.
Welcome back to Just Okay Movies. I'm your host, Geek Squad VR Oasis Installation Specialist BIGGIESIZE, and I'm here with...
Oh, don't you know it's lesbian black woman Gweedo?
I'm number one gunter around online handle Milpool.
Yo, what up? It's your boy Skull in the Chest Nasty. What's going on?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing
Well,
good.
I just spent all my credits on a retrograde Thundercats vehicle that I could drive around in the Just
sick,
Okay
bro.
Gamers Discord.
Oh, nice. Oh, that is so freaking cool.
That
Oh
is
my
Thanks,
cool,
god!
man.
Oh my god! I love nostalgia. Tell me more.
dude. I
Wow.
can't even. I don't know what you're talking about. I just got zeroed out yesterday.
Oh.
Where,
You
where
guys
did
are
it
lucky.
happen?
You're lucky that I'm here because I almost just like ran out of the window of my skyscraper that I work in.
Oh.
What are you doing there?
You do work at a skyscraper.
Yeah. The only skyscraper in Greendale, Wisconsin. It's a whole 6 stories tall.
Well, everyone, this week we are talking about a little film called Ready Player One, or as I like to call, Reference the Movie. Now, I'm just going to lay it straight out for you right here, right now. If you have been looking for a film to stroke your nostalgia dick to, oh my god, have I found the movie for you. Gentlemen, would you agree with me here?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything else that could take the
No.
crown away from this one.
I would say yes and no. It's not nearly the nostalgia that the book had. However, it's been different.
No, that's
It's-
fascinating. Because I felt like this film had so many references, so many kind of calls to what we would consider pop culture. Is the book this dense, or at least this in your face about it?
Oh,
Nasty.
100%.
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
The only difference is that the book is consistent around the era that it focuses its nostalgia. Whereas the movie to me felt like it was anything from the early 80s until this year.
Yeah, pretty much. Everything in the book is just straight 80s.
Right.
They mention like EverQuest and World of Warcraft and some modern games, but only briefly.
Yeah.
Everything that involves the Easter eggs and the challenges is just pure 80s nostalgia.
Yeah, and nothing like there wasn't Overwatch, there wasn't Minecraft, there wasn't any of that at all
Sure.
in the book.
Interesting. And when was the book written?
2011.
Oh, okay, so fairly recent, but it
Yeah.
focused more on 80s, 90s nostalgia.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
I don't even think that Gweeds, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think that like Nintendo 64 was brought up towards the end when he was talking about the consoles that were there at the very, very end in the book.
It's been a while since I've read the book,
Okay.
like a year. So
Right.
I don't remember minute details.
If I remember right, I think it was like Super Nintendo is where they stopped the lineage of the consoles that they were talking about in the book.
Yeah, but the references in the book were stuff that was even over my head. Like I
Yes.
got half of the stuff, half of the references.
Same.
I recognized some of the games, I knew some of the movies, but I didn't connect with what the author was trying to convey on how fucking great the 80s were, apparently.
Right. No, I definitely agree. It did make me like go look things up though, which was nice. to like see what they were actually talking about if I didn't get it in the book.
Very interesting. Well, let's go ahead and jump into a quick synopsis on what the film entails. Milpool, would you mind just kind of giving a quick just synopsis of the plot and everything just for the listener?
Yeah, I can do that. So Ready Player One takes place in the year 2045, I believe, and everyone is the majority of the people in the film are obsessed with this virtual world called the Oasis, which was created by a guy named Halliday, who created the Oasis, and it's like the number one thing that everyone is into. And then he died. He died like 7 years before where the movie takes place. So the movie focuses on this one guy called Wade Watts, who spends his days in the Oasis. And I don't remember when it's revealed, but there's this thing, the egg hunt, where it's revealed that if you find the 3 hidden keys in the game, then you take control of the Oasis. And it's $500 billion value, I guess, as well. So then that becomes Wade's goal, and he meets up with some other friends that try to find the 3 keys. And kind of the antagonist is this company called IOI, who is this very large evil-ish corporation who is pouring a bunch of money into trying to get the eggs as well.
Very nice. That is spot on. That is the entire plot, and kind of covered over this plot is every kind of nostalgic reference you could possibly imagine. I think the point that pissed me off the most was when he's chatting with the girl, I when he first meets her or whatever, and she's like, "What was his favorite N64 game?" Like, "Oh, it was GoldenEye Slappers Only." I'm like, "Oh my god, come on!" And it's just a build up to that point, because it's not just a little isolated incident where it's like, "Oh, that's cute, that's nice." It's constant. It is just like tiny snowball that's just building more and more of all these nostalgic references. I mean, we see the DeLorean, that's cool, whatever, and a Tron bike, that's great. But Jesus Christ, when we're also doing like,
I didn't see Jesus Christ.
oh, yeah, he was in the race. He was in the little further back. He wouldn't give everyone a chance.
Yeah, he was one of the what'd they say, half-wrecked cars that you're just picking up for cheap change or some shit like that.
Oh, he's the one King Kong ate.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. But to me, it just, after so much time, it just took me out of the film, or just at least made my eyes roll. I mean, did you guys feel the same way?
I did a little bit. Like, I know what you're talking about. Sometimes I felt like they were over-explaining the references. Like, the one you pointed out is a good example. His favorite game was GoldenEye. Slappers only. That means no guns.
Right.
It's like,
exactly.
yeah, I understand. I played GoldenEye. I know what that is. But I also understand that a lot of people watching this movie don't have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. So I'm like, okay, it's, I enjoy all these references, but maybe they're trying to balance it out a little bit too.
No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And I'll go ahead and say I haven't read the book, so I'm going purely on the movie itself, and maybe the book. If I had read it, I may have liked how everything was laid out more. But just as the film, I felt like it relied on the nostalgia stuff too much to try to give the world character, or at least even give the people themselves character. Where there were parts of the film I enjoyed the most was when there was no references. Really, a lot of it was outside the Oasis itself. I love the parts where it showed the people inside IOI having to deal with The Shining, and they're all like freaking out. You just look down.
The Shining scene was my favorite scene in that movie.
Yeah,
that was completely
you can talk
new.
shit. It was. You can talk shit about any part of the movie, but that scene in the movie was great. I had a lot of fun watching that.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I hated it.
Do you?
You son of a bitch.
I love Kubrick. And when we had to jump into The Shining, at that point, I was already pretty not happy with the film. Like, oh great, now we've got to be in a film that's a million times better than this one. I really want to go watch The Shining now, and not watch this piece of crap any longer. But not that the scene was okay. I think it was more of the feeling I had of the film at that point. I was already just upset with the whole thing. The idea of it is pretty cool. In hindsight, it's a neat idea to jump into The Shining and relive those moments in a more video gamey way. And that was okay.
So in the book, it wasn't The Shining. There was a similar idea, like you played along in the movies, but it wasn't The Shining. So I think
Yeah.
that's where like they did a good job of taking the stuff that existed in the book and moving it into the movie in a more acceptable way to like the masses. Because I definitely think, oh fuck, what was it? I don't remember what it was, but basically the whole thing was you played the character in the movie in the book, and the way they
Those war
adapted it,
games.
war games, yes, and they adapted it though here so that way you weren't directly in the movie, but you kind of had to know a few things about the movie and some of the. I did like that whole section. I'm not gonna lie, the way that they reworked it, I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I think me and Nasty kind of knew what we were getting going into this movie.
Right.
So the nostalgia didn't affect us much because that's what the book is.
Right. If
Sure.
anything, it was light on the nostalgia and more modernized nostalgia than the book had. The book was way heavy, like Gweedo said, way heavy into the 80s, and a lot of it went over my head. But
The only problem is they delivered the nostalgia, but they didn't give the backstory as to why that was
Yes.
such an integral part of the story.
yes, I think that the whole beginning of the book where he's super poor, he's stuck in the stacks, and the fact that this game was made for everybody to be able to play, whether or not you had gold coins or whatever the fuck they were, didn't matter, right? And I think that was lost on the first, the very first key, the bronze key.
Yeah, like in the book, there's going to be a lot of in the book talk.
Right.
Well, that's
but-
great. Please.
He went to kids go to school inside of the Oasis,
Right.
and they
Oh.
go to school planets.
So that's what
And-
the Oasis was started, was to replace school for kids because there was not equal education for everybody. So that's kind of how it got started in the mass quantity that it was. They didn't really explain that in the movie.
Right. And the school things, everybody can traverse them freely, but they're just kind of boring school classroom planets. Nothing exciting is going on there. You'd have to pay to travel. You have to use gas to get to different planets, the Minecraft planet or whatever in the movie. So nobody's looking on these school planets, and that's where he ends up finding the first area to find the first key. It's not in this race that everybody like they glossed over him like researching for years trying to find this place where this key is, and they just were like, oh, we know this key's on this racetrack, first person to win gets it.
Right.
It just like it threw away so much build up and character development, where you know that this is like the kid has nothing. His parents are dead. He doesn't give a shit about his aunt, and all he has is trying to find this key.
Yes.
This is all he has going on in his life.
You know what else like bugged me that they didn't bring over was that relationship with the old lady in the book. The lady in the movie is the one on the very, very first floor, and she treated him like his mom. And she was the one that he was worried about when they blew up the stacks, not his aunt and his shit uncle boyfriend thing.
I totally forgot about her because
Yeah.
he greets her at the start of the movie.
Yep.
And I think that was the only time you see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she played a huge part in that character development. But I also feel like they didn't want to develop that character, and the focus in the movie was more on Artemis.
You see,
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
would-
that's what
yeah.
I'm talking about. Like, that's good shit. And I felt like they rushed through his story so much. I didn't really care if he got the fucking key or not. He's
Right.
just some kid. I mean, yeah, it sucks that his home life, stinks and his aunt is lame, but I didn't really care other than that. Other than he wants to go win a race to win the key. Okay, well, good luck. But that's good stuff, building that. They kept on showing those shots, of the trailers built on top of each other and some of the first posters. I was like, that looks like it's a sad and depressing world, but still, that's a world I want to get into.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they just glossed over it. And I felt like those parts outside of the Oasis itself were way more interesting, because the Oasis was it felt OP at times. Like, they always had some way of getting out of something. Gravity and stuff doesn't matter, and all that stuff. Whereas outside the real world, there are real rules that they had to deal with, but we spent no time establishing that world. So when the whole stacks blew up from the IOI, I didn't really give two shits, because you're right. The only connection he had to the real world at that point was his aunt and shitty boyfriend.
Right.
Yeah, even in the world though, in comparison to the book, in the book he was poor outside of the Oasis, and he was fucking poor as shit inside the Oasis.
Right.
Like, he was nothing. He had nothing, and all he built his whole life around was trying to find this egg and trying to learn as much as he possibly could about Holiday.
Yeah, and I think the part that really stuck with me that didn't get brought over was that he was like scraping by to like hitch rides places, or like scrounge scraps for gold coins to travel someplace. And that reminds me of like when you start out in like WoW for the first time and you have absolutely fucking nothing, but then your friend comes over and it's like, here, take a couple gold, like go fucking do what you want with it.
Yeah. I don't know, having not read the book and listening to this, like, I definitely could have done with more of the world and character development, but they definitely like got the message across with pretty much everything you guys said. Like, he was obviously poor. He lived in a trailer with his aunt. Like, he obviously didn't like his aunt. His home life sucked. He spent all of his time in a van in the Oasis. Like, he went to a junkyard, got in a van, and got in the Oasis every day. And the only other thing that I didn't really get that you guys said was that he was poor in the Oasis as well.
Right.
Like, he was a nobody in the Oasis until he found the first key, and then everyone loved him. Like, they did convey that, but
and that's true in the book too. Very true.
Yeah, and the research thing, like, in the movie he spends a lot of time doing research to find where the keys are.
And that stuff was cool too. I had fun watching that.
The scenes of his life and stuff like that.
I mean, they're contrived, like the research scenes. Like, the movie doesn't spend a lot of time there, but it shows him going back there a lot and like forming a relationship with the caretaker, or the whoever he is, who ends up being Holiday.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose they conveyed it enough. I just felt like everything, and that's the way adaptations are, is everything just felt pasted on.
Right. Well, and after walking out of the movie, Rachel and I both felt the same way. But we also said, like, how can you fit 18 hours of an audiobook into a under 2.5 hour movie? It just doesn't happen that way.
Right.
So
right.
I definitely knew that. And I think that they almost did it better by not trying to copy paste the book out and put it into the movie. Still convey some of those big things, like the challenges for the 3 keys and Holiday dying and everybody kind of kicking off. Him becoming famous and getting all this money and that. But the whole Artemis meeting up with Artemis thing was completely different. And she got involved way early in the book. And same thing with H, I think, as well.
I think it was the part where he meets Artemis was the part where I just shut down, and I was just so angry at the film for being super lazy.
What, the kidnapping?
Not even that. It was when they're at the dance hall or the dance club, he's like, I'm in love with you, and she's like, I don't really look like this. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't think she's gonna be a dude, but still, that was neat. Like, oh, maybe she's brain dead, and they just have her hooked up, or maybe she was like burned in an attack, and so she's super disfigured or something. But when he sees her, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not really gonna be her. That's gonna really be someone else. And then she's like, don't look at me, and he just swipes her over. A fucking birthmark, and it's the lightest birthmark I've ever seen. And she
Yeah.
acts like she's the ugliest person who's ever lived. Like, fuck you, movie. That is the laziest setup I've ever seen. And at that point, I was just done. Like, if you're gonna basically make it sound like she's hideously deformed, or at least make some sort of interesting connection, because she's got nice tits and she looks great. It's just she's got a little brown spot, luckily, where her hair sits, so you barely even see it to begin with. I was so ticked off. Like, that is so lazy. And it still makes me angry. At that point, I was just done with the movie. Like, if this is how it's going to be, then, this movie is a movie to tell nostalgia, instead of using nostalgia to help kind of spice the movie up. At that point, my mind was made. This is all this film is. Check it out.
Oh,
Right.
poor Biggie checked out.
Yeah, that sucks.
I
mean-
I understand what you're saying. Like, she was saying like, oh, I don't look like this. Don't come and see me. And then she's this like incredibly beautiful girl with a little birthmark on her face.
Right.
It was kind of silly. I don't know. I thought overall, like, this was a fun movie. I had fun watching it. I enjoyed all the nostalgia. Like, every time I saw an Overwatch character, like, I looked over at Jen and like we smiled. Like, it was just fun. Everything about it was fun.
Oh, you mean when you saw Tracer 3 times?
Yeah.
And
And-
Reaper.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh,
say she was
Reaper
on
was in there?
She was on
Yeah.
a date with Reaper, wasn't she?
With Reaper. Yeah. something
Oh,
like
I
that.
missed
That's
the
cool.
Reaper.
I didn't see that. I
And
think
there was lots of stuff in there, and even while
Yeah.
I was watching it, like I was thinking like, oh man, there's so many references. It's cool, and there's probably so many references that I'm missing as well, which is also cool.
I got to say that it's a PG-13 movie. PG-13 movies get one F word, one F bomb, and they used it masterfully in this movie.
I don't remember.
Oh god, yeah. When was it?
It's during the siege on the final battle, and there's an IOI guy driving a car, and someone spawns Chucky, the doll Chucky,
Oh,
and
yeah.
throws it at him.
Oh.
And Chucky's got a knife and he's trying to stab the driver, and the driver just says, "It's fucking Chucky."
I forgot about that. That was pretty cool. Absolutely. Well,
I do have to say that the world itself in that last battle scene was pretty sweet. I know nostalgia was kind of a really heavy hand throughout the whole movie, but to see all the different genres and all the different eras kind of come together and picking out your own little favorite characters throughout that was pretty cool.
Fucking Iron Giant is fighting with this like Mecha Godzilla, and then
Yeah.
fucking Gundam shows up. Like, it
It's
was
like-
cool. It was
It's like one of
fun.
those
It was fun.
what would who would win kind of scenarios when you were little, right? Like Batman or Superman, except for like on a fucking massive scale.
Yeah, except there's like hundreds of different characters from different things all
Right.
fighting each other.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the movie. The only thing is, like, the story itself is just utterly forgettable.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the bummer. For having such
It's
a neat world that you could do anything in, it was just forgettable.
It's a movie filled with cool moments, but the movie as a whole doesn't stand on its own. That's
Mhm.
how I feel.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a fine concept. The whole, finding 3 keys hidden in this game. I think that works. I think how they found the keys and where the keys were hidden was, not the best. Like, not the most complicated setup or follow through.
Right.
And then the ending I thought was a little too Well, to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Home Alone, like everything wraps up with a nice bow. You know, the bad guys get caught, the good guys get all the money and everything.
Can I just say that very last scene, nobody fucking touched him because he had a gun in his hand. One fucking gun in one guy's hand, and
He's walking
nobody,
through a crowd of
everybody
Yeah.
fucking just let him
100
walk. Like,
people.
what the actual fuck was going on there?
I thought he's going to kill this kid, and everyone just steps aside.
Yeah. Hey, Stacks, I need your help. Oh, we're here to help you. Oh shit. He's got a fucking 9mm. Guys, watch out. He's got a fucking 9mm with like 6 rounds in it probably because he already shot a bunch of them.
He wasn't even pointing it at them. He was
No,
pointing
he's
it at the
pointing in the
sky.
air. Fucking punch him. Somebody fucking rock him in the back of the head while he walks past you. Like, what the fuck?
That is what I like to call lazy screenwriting,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
feel, which I could just say for the whole film. There's so many lazy points.
Yeah.
But they could have done so much better. Man, it's just an absolute bummer. But
How about that actor that played Halliday?
Yeah.
Boy, I was
I
not
liked
feeling him.
Did you not?
No.
like him?
No.
No.
Why?
I thought.
Why didn't
Yeah,
I
why?
like him?
Yeah, why didn't you like him?
Because like they were trying to convey that he's this weirdo,
Yeah?
and they did it so monotone and boring.
Oh, you're saying they
thought
could
it
have
was
done a better
perfect.
job.
What? Yeah,
You're saying they could have done a
could've
better
just
job?
done it differently. It felt like he should be this more eccentric character who built this giant fucking puzzle for people to figure out inside his world that he created, and he's the guy that's like, I don't know, I just want to go home and play Pac-Man. It's like
You're
it
right.
didn't match.
you're absolutely right.
I mean, he seemed like he had some form of autism, which totally makes
Yes.
sense for the character, and I thought he played it that way, and he played it well.
I thought he did well as well.
I didn't think
thought
they.
he played it fairly well.
I think I would have liked it more if they kind of played up the strife that he had between the co-creator and the whole girlfriend thing. It felt like that was dropped so quickly.
See, but that doesn't get built much in the book, but there is a lot more involvement with the co-creator than just what we had. He wasn't just like a guy behind the scenes.
I see. You know, if they were going to skimp so much on the main character of Wade Watts, I would have liked it if they focused more on Holiday and kind of went more in his life. Like, no, was he? I don't know. Go so far, you know, hurt by his parents. You know, did he lose all of his parents? So he was always a loner. You know, the whole strife with his co-creator was he fucked over in a bunch of other ways. So you could kind of set like a more sympathy for him, and that's why Wade wants to keep pushing. But they kind of skimped on both of them. So then you're like, you know, you're following the main character you don't care that much about, don't even know that much about, and his idol is some other guy that you don't really know that much about, so you don't really care that much about for him. So then you're just kind of stuck in the middle of watching two people you don't know or really care that much about at all, and it just makes everything else fall kind of flat. I didn't feel involved in their story. So they should have done one or the other, or both would have been great, but at least one or the other.
I think the one part that the book succeeds at, the movie failed at, was they built it in the book. He built it in the book that these players of this game don't want to share or help each other at all.
Right. And that's where I think they lost it too by bringing them in so early. Because they got together before
they
the
teamed
second
them up
key.
quick.
Yeah.
In the movie, they don't team up even after people have died in real life.
Right.
One of the Asian kids doesn't make it.
Yes.
Spoiler alert for the book.
Yeah.
It's after he dies where they're like, all right, we're facing something a bit bigger here.
Right.
Maybe we should team up.
Yeah. No, I also felt the same. I hate to say like in the book again, but they also revolved a lot more around Halliday's life and getting you to understand who he was growing up. And he built this whole world that was just his house repeated 256 times. Like that was all that this world was. It was like his neighborhood to the max. And like one of the keys was going into his bedroom and like seeing him and like trying to puzzle together, like, who he was piece the puzzle together of who he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
I would say
totally
go
get
read
behind that.
Biggie. If that's the last.
I
I'm
don't
gonna say
think you
about the
really
book.
need to read it.
No, go
No?
Nah, it's
You
not
wouldn't
that great
recommend
a
it?
book.
go listen to it. Man. If you're
I
an
might listen
audiobook
to
kind
it.
of person.
I might listen to it.
Yeah, but just briefly going back to them fighting each other for these clues, it added an element of they're not just fighting, they're just not just competing against IOI, which is a major corporation. It's like the best and the brightest of this world that know the most competing against each other, and then IOI is on their tail. So it just adds a whole nother intensity level to it.
Right. Can I also say how disappointed I was in IROC's character?
Yeah, you didn't like Iraq?
I mean, like, he just had nothing. He had no significance in the movie to me. Like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, IOI just has this IROC guy that they call to do their bidding for them, essentially.
Which one's
Yeah.
IROC?
The
He was
one with the skull.
chest guy.
Yeah.
I agree. He was kind of lame.
He was their friend, kind of. He was the guy that hung out with them and basically sold them out to IOI, which kind of created bad blood.
Yeah, in the book. 'Cause
In the
that
book.
didn't happen in the movie.
No,
he was
and-
just like a minion for IOI.
Right. And then, like, as he had, like, very little involvement, but still also kind of, like, played a minion for IOI, essentially.
Interesting. I hated him complaining about his fucking neck the whole time. Jesus Christ.
I gotta say, TJ Miller kind of spiced that up, though, a little bit. That character made it a little fun to watch him, even though he's kind of a shitty placed character in the whole thing.
Well, I guess that's Ready Player One. Does anyone have any final thoughts?
Fun movie. Action scenes are cool, but overall, I give it like a 5 or 6.
I think it's a lot of fun. I would recommend going and seeing it. I had a lot of fun with it. I like the references. I'd give it like a 8 out of 10.
8?
Yeah.
All right.
Woo!
I would say, for what it was fun. I'd throw it at a 7, probably. Biggie's throwing it like a 2. I already feel it.
We're all over the place.
This movie, I felt insulted by it. I felt like Spielberg literally said, I'm going to make a movie because I can see how much people are just stroking that nostalgia dick. And there's like, I want to just see things I know and I can reference and I can brag to everyone and say, oh, I know what that is because I was born in the 90s and late 2000s. And it just makes me angry as a viewer because I see the material and I can see how it could be so much better than what they made it to be. And in hearing from the book, it sounds like that is really the case. That they turned this into we're going to tell the base story. We're going to get sounds like some of the major points going. But we're going to just cram it full of nostalgic references, stuff people recognize. You know, every line's being like, oh, hey, reference. Hey, reference. You know, it's kind of like reference. And that just, I feel insulted by that. And I would feel disappointed if I was making that film and I knew I was making this and it could be so much better. If I was the writer, I probably would also feel insulted. But I'm sure that check was pretty nice.
That was the book. Like, we're glossing over what the book was because we're talking about a movie, but the book was reference after reference after reference, and
sure.
It was heavy-handed references too, just
And all in the
references that
80s.
only people like over the age of 38 would get instead of anyone over the age of 17.
But it sounds like they built the character up so much more. And that's the part that just disappoints me is I don't want to, go into a film not liking the main character. And it feels so painful when you're having to sit and see this person you barely know and they're just doing this great stuff for good reasons. But I don't really care that much about him, and I don't really care if he succeeds or not, honestly. And I feel like just from the stuff, even with the references in the book, absolutely, it sounds like the book really took its time to set the world and set the character far more than the movie did. And I just, it sounds disappointing that they didn't take more of that time to do it. So I don't know, if I was going to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 3. Don't bother. I wouldn't recommend it, and I say that with a heavy heart, honestly, because I was really looking forward to it.
But hey, everybody, go watch Batman and Robin, huh?
Batman and Robin, it is a fun time. I think they do more character development in Batman and Robin than they do in this movie.
So they don't have to develop the fucking characters. It's Batman and fucking Robin.
But you care about Alfred dying. That's the part that just drags you in. You know, you have Bruce.
But he doesn't die.
He doesn't, and that is the part. I thought he actually did die at the end of the film. It's been forever since I'd seen it, and when he didn't, I'm like, oh, that was kind of lame. I kind of wanted him to die. But it still, it tugged at your heart a little bit. He's got a little tug, and that's what Ready Player One didn't do. They had a chance with, what was her name? Arkanoid? Archon? Artemis?
Artemis.
Okay, they had a chance
Arkanoid.
there. Might as well have been Arkanoid. I mean, throw in another reference. You know, they had a chance there. I was like, this is going to be it. This is going to be the turning point. And it just didn't happen. But, oh well, you know. Better luck next time, Steven Spielberg. Is Steven Spielberg the new Ridley Scott?
Is Steven Spielberg a hack?
I wish I didn't talk about Ridley Scott being a hack. So I might replace him with Steven Spielberg.
Hey, man, The Post was god-awful.
I didn't care for it either. I wanted to enjoy it, but I really did not like it. Lazy, boring, uninteresting, even though the material was really neat. He's losing his touch.
I don't think he's losing his touch.
I mean, that last film he did, BFG, what the fuck was that? It flopped hard. Get your act together, Spielberg.
Another adaptation by a Roald Dahl book. He needs to stop doing these adaptations.
Yeah. He's lost everything, like, creative, though, I think.
I kind of feel like he probably doesn't give a shit. And why should he? I mean, he's the director of the 21st century, whatever, you know, up there. But, I mean, he's no Scorsese. He's no Kubrick. But, man, that's probably what made me really mad, was Spielberg taking a scene from a Kubrick film. I know it was a book, but still, a Kubrick film. And he's riding on that for nostalgia. That probably gets his nostalgia dick hard, is having some Shining in his film. So that makes me a little
Dude, that
unhappy.
scene was so fun. You're silly. That scene was great.
Well, guys, I guess it's time to rank this film. All right, man, our list is getting huge. All right, let's start from the top. Number 1 on the Just Okay Movies top, whatever we're up to, list of films is RoboCop. Number 2, Doctor Strange. Number 3, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Number 4, Logan. Number 5, Moana. Number 6, Black Panther. Number 7, Rogue One. Number 8, Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Number 9, Batman and Robin. Number 10, Baby's Day Out. Number 11, Dungeons and Dragons. And number 12, it's still my personal favorite, Battlefield Earth. All right, Gweedo, I'm going to start with you. Where would you like to see Ready Player One in this list?
I think I'd put this well-deservedly pretty much right in the middle of the pack, above Rogue One. I enjoyed it more than Rogue One, but definitely not as much as Black Panther.
Sure, that's definitely fair. All right, Milpool, what are you thinking?
Man, it's so hard to rank movies because this list is like so different than what I would make out of this. That's probably where it fits. Yeah, around the middle. God, it's so hard to say because I'd put it above Logan, but maybe below Moana. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Okay. So you're thinking, putting it between Moana and Logan?
I think you're saying
Yeah.
below Moana.
Oh, below Moana. So right above
Yeah.
Black Panther.
Right above Black Panther.
All right, Nasty. What are you thinking?
I'm gonna go ahead and say above Rogue One, below Black Panther.
Okay. Okay.
I was slightly disappointed, but not thoroughly disappointed like I was with Rogue One.
Okay. Okay. Well, I would have put it, probably below Baby's Day Out.
Holy shit. Below Baby's Day Out?
I
Wow.
got
Biggie,
more.
Biggie, you're fucked up, dude.
I got
You-
more out of
You
Baby's
got
Day
more
Out.
out of fucking Baby Bink getting his picture taken than goddamn Wade Wilson going fucking shit up in the Oasis?
I felt for Baby Bink. Way
You didn't
more.
fall for shit. Fuck you, Biggie.
No, I felt for Baby Bink. You know, he's a cute kid. You know, he had a backstory that
He's a
was
dumb
easy
kid.
to follow, and I felt for him. You know, he's having a hard
Congratulations,
time.
you fell for like a
His-
fucking 2-year-old.
Baby Bink's backstory is that he's just walking around.
No, he was taken from his home by some robbers.
Baby Bink doesn't know that. Baby Bink's just walking around, bro.
Yeah, but
Why
that's
are we talking about
his
Baby Bink?
innocence. His innocence was taken
Because-
from him.
I'm insulted that he would put this movie below Baby's Day Out. I'm insulted. I let it slide
That
with
is pretty
fucking The Last Jedi, all right? But I'm going to fight for this. You better raise it up at least above Batman and Robin.
Oh, but I would be betraying myself if I did that. Don't you see?
This movie's not... this movie's not worse than Batman and Robin, BIGGIESIZE. Any way that you put it, it's not worse than Batman and Robin.
All right. I will put it. I will. I will put it above Baby Stay Out. But that's as far as I'm gonna go.
Oh my god.
That is a hard line. But in either case, I think the average still ends up. Gweedo and Nasty, you guys put it above Rogue One, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think that really ends up being the consensus. So, all right. So right now, what's this movie called again? Ready Player One is now sitting below Black Panther and above Rogue One. I think that is a pretty good place. That's pretty fair. Well, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this interesting discussion about this film. Next week,
I don't know if I can do another one of these, BIGGIESIZE. Next week, if we do Avengers, and you're like, I just couldn't connect to the characters. I'm gonna put it below Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna throw my shoe at you. I'm gonna drive down to Fort fucking Worth, take my shoe off, and throw it at your neck.
Let me tell you, he's got good aim with his shoe too.
oh god.
I know.
Well, I have been warned. So, join us next week for Infinity War. I am pumped. I am so excited for this film. I think we all are.
Oh yeah, I'm going Sunday.
Very nice, very nice. I think I'm going on Tuesday. Oh, I'm pumped. I'm so happy some of the theaters around here do 2D IMAX because I just can't do 3D anymore.
Oh, 3D is the worst.
Such a headache. I think it's the glasses. Ultimately, they just can't do like a mass-produced set of glasses that are actually comfortable. So you get the cheap plastic. It just hurts.
Yeah. That and it dims the movie.
It does.
Because they have a hint to them. So you're not even watching it in its full vibrance.
Right.
And you gotta focus with these fucking things on, crossing your eyes for 2.5 hours. It's horrible. I hate 3D.
Especially if you're not dead center. You have to be dead center or else it is just an atrocious viewing experience. So I'm happy at least it's dying off slowly, or at least we're having more options. Because before, you wanted IMAX, it's 3D or nada, and that was just terrible. But anyway, join us next week on Wednesday for Infinity War review. All right, guys, you all take care. Thank you for joining us. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Right.